You are listening to Outnumber the Podcast, episode 124, How to Travel Without the Kids. This is one of my, Bonnie's, favorite things to do, even though I love those kids, is to get away without them and remember who I am as an adult. I love to travel with my adult friends and with my husband. And today we're going to talk about all the logistics of getting one of these trips to happen, including how to decide on a destination, make sure it's during a time that is going to be right for your family, finding that elusive babysitter, prepping your kids and hyping it up so they're not freaked out about you leaving, and then finally dealing with the mom guilt that comes when you leave your kids. So get ready to travel and have some fun away from the kids.
Hello and welcome to Outnumbered the Podcast. I'm Audrey.
And I'm Bonnie. We are experienced moms to a combined total of 19 children.
In our weekly episodes, we explore relatable topics using our perspectives of humor and chaos.
Tune in for advice and encouragement to gain more joy in your parenting journey. Hi, friends. Welcome to an episode about traveling without kids. We have been holding on to this episode idea for like a year and a half now. As soon as we wanted to do it, COVID hit and we were like, I guess no one's going to be doing much traveling at all. So here we are. Things are opening back up. We're excited to do some traveling without kids. And just to say right up front, we're not opposed to traveling with kids. We have an episode about that too. It's episode 22. But this is for those of us who just need to get away.
Yes. And also caveat from Audrey before we begin. I've never gone anywhere without my kids. So this is mostly Bonnie's brainchild, except that I have a 25th wedding anniversary coming up, and it will be my first time traveling without my kids. So this is like longer than just, running to the grocery store. So
wow.
maybe
I'm
this
so
is
proud of you.
good
for you. Yeah. Let's do it. Well, you have some big kids, so some of it will like really big kids to help out. So some of it you probably won't have to do. It'll be easier on you. So
yeah. All right, I have a sort of funny or terrible mom moment and then sort of a hack to share. So we have a 15-passenger van, and we accidentally left the door open and had a male cat get in there and spend the night one night.
Oh, no.
And it did what male cats do, and it sprayed its stinky smell in there.
No.
So I know we have been trying for weeks to get that nasty smell out of there. So one thing that I have found to be the most effective is putting down baking soda, and it kind of sucks up that whatever he sprayed out of it's vinyl on the floor, but it's somehow got in there, and it's sucking it up out of there. And then you vacuum up the baking soda and you put fresh baking soda down. Okay, here's the thing. So my kids, the first time they vacuumed up the baking soda, they went and got the house vacuum instead of the shop vac from the garage, and they used the house vacuum to vacuum it up. Well, guess what? Next time we vacuumed in the house, the entire house stunk like male cat smell. So I emptied the vacuum bag but it's like in the hose or something, because it still stunk up the entire house every time we vacuumed. So here is my hack. I cleaned out the bag, I rinsed out the hose, did everything I could with my indoor house vac, and I'm not gonna go buy a new vacuum. So I put some drops of lemongrass essential oil inside my vacuum, and now every time I vacuum, it smells very nice. It spreads this beautiful lemongrass smell around the house, and it doesn't smell like male cat anymore every time I vacuum around my house. So there's my horrible parent story, and also a little hack for you if you too have a stinky vacuum smell.
That is so awful. Okay, so where did you put the you said essential oils, right?
Yeah. So I took my vacuum. I took it, you know how you can replace the bag inside your vacuum?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So when I put in a new bag, I just kind of dropped in 8 or 10 drops of this essential oil on my new bag, empty bag. Yeah.
So smart. That's brilliant. I'm so sorry you had to learn the hard way though.
Yeah. I was like, why didn't you guys use the shop vac from the garage? And they're like, well, it was in the barn. I'm like, why were you vacuuming in the barn? Oh. Anyway.
Children, who knows what they do? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. We had a cat climb in the van once too. It was a girl cat, and she wasn't in there very long and didn't do any damage, but she was terrified. I think she just climbed in because someone left the door open between errands. And so we got in, closed the door, started driving away, and then we hear this terrified yowling. We're like, what is that? And the cat was with us in the van. Had never been in a car before, was really freaked out. So, okay. So apparently Audrey's probably not going to go on a road trip without her children anytime soon. But, if you don't take kids, you don't have to take the passenger van. So that's one of the exciting things about going places without kids. So I'll say right up front that for many of us, traveling without kids is just kind of a pipe dream. And for many, many phases, it's very often unrealistic to do couples trips or girls trips while kids are young. But I will say this from someone who's managed to do many of them, it is worth trying. Some people don't have the desire to do it. Some people do and think it's impossible. If you really have the desire, it's possible. So don't give up if that's something you want to look into.
Yes, some of the benefits of getting away without your kids are you get to recharge. You get a renewed appreciation for your kids, and they get a renewed appreciation for you. And then you get special adult time with your spouse or whoever you're traveling with.
Right. So I will just share a little bit about my own experience traveling without kids. This has always been a priority for me. I don't know why I need it so much, but it has been extremely helpful for me, and we've been lucky enough to make it happen. So we've talked in past episodes about these girls trips that I go on with some friends from college. I do that about every other year or every 18 months or so. And then my husband and I have also been able to do quite a few really awesome vacations to Europe because his family owns a travel company, and his dad sets us up for friends and family every other year. So we've been able to go on a handful of these, and they have been really, really amazing. It's a lot of work to leave kids behind. That's for sure. And we'll talk a little bit about the logistics, but for me personally, it's been really essential to travel by myself or with a spouse or friends to remind me of who I am as a human being, not just a mom.
All right. So I did mention my husband and I are going on a 25th anniversary trip, and I don't know exactly where we're going, but I want to go somewhere with like on the ocean. So I want to
Yeah,
go
beach.
along in the sand beach. Yes, I've got that. Eat some good food. I haven't been away from my kids. My husband, however, when each of our oldest kids have turned 18, he has taken them on a trip. Um, so he has gone to a different country with our oldest kids, and they travel together, and that's been a really neat experience for them for my husband and our adult children to travel together, something they really, really like to do.
And while our family personally loves family vacations, I will just say that when you travel without kids, you can travel longer and farther. Some people take their kids to Europe, and that is really impressive, in my opinion. I've never taken a kid on a trip where they would have jet lag, and that sounds really hard. But if you can do it, go for you. I mean, go you. You can see more. Some museums and memorials are not super appropriate for little kids. You can do more, like hard hikes or experiences that might be too difficult for children. And then obviously you can connect with your spouse or with other travel companions, other friends.
Yes, other options for traveling. I mean, other benefits of traveling without kids are fewer potty stops. You can you can go to fancier or nicer restaurants because you have a lower cost. You don't like my husband and I, whenever we go out on date night, we're always like, wow, that was only like $40.
I know, cheaper than you've ever eaten out
I
anywhere.
know. And we had an appetizer and we shared a dessert.
Yep.
The whole vacation total is lower cost because, I don't know about your family, but our family has to get 2 hotel rooms whenever we travel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so then another cool thing is, like I mentioned, these trips my husband has been taking with our oldest kids, adult kids, and that they're kind of like exploration trips. Like, they go and kind of explore a country and feel it out, and then like, you know what? I think the whole family would like to come here, or if we come here with the whole family, we're definitely not going to this location or that location. So, kind of some exploration trips are pretty cool.
I love that idea of taking the 18-year-old, and really they're not technically a kid anymore. So it's really just going
No,
with an adult friend, right? That you don't have to
yeah,
parent. That
that's right.
sounds great. Okay, so now we're going to give you kind of a step-by-step guide to leaving the kids behind. If you've made the decision, you'd love to go someplace just as adults, then here are the steps we can get you through it.
All right. Number one, you got to decide who, what, where.
Yeah.
You have to decide on your destination. Where are you going? How long? So the when. What's a good time frame for you and your kids? Kind of a balance between that. And who's going to be your travel partners. So all the logistical details need to be planned out, both thinking for yourself traveling and thinking about your kids who are staying back home without mom and dad.
Right, right. I mean, this next part's going to be fairly obvious, but just in case you're planning a trip in the future, try to avoid times when you have a very small baby, for example. Me personally, I have left nursing infants before, but I don't leave them before 6 months because it's just too hard. The nursing relationship is just still kind of new. Some moms go back to work very, very early and are still able to pump and give their babies bottle. But for me personally, I haven't left before 6 months, and then just for a few days at a time, and then I pump and leave breast milk for them. Being hugely pregnant is also not a great time to travel, or when a child is going through something tricky. So if you've got a kid at home who is just started potty training, or who has started a new school, or you've just moved, or something like that, if it's already a transition time for a kid, it's probably not a great time for you to leave. It's going to be really hard on them.
My favorite person to travel with is my husband. But there's also, you can travel with girlfriends. You can go on a trip with another couple. There's lots of fun options when you think about adult only trips. I was thinking about, I mentioned going to the beach. You can do things that you can't do with little kids, like, scuba diving, or things that just aren't appropriate, or even little kids have the ability to do. So just kind of a lot of options open up when the little kids aren't along.
Right, right. I love the idea of traveling with other couples, and I really enjoy the idea of traveling with siblings. If you have adult siblings that you're friends with, that can be a really fun vacation to leave all the little cousins behind and just go out with your sibling and their spouse. Okay, so step number two, as soon as you have a time frame decided, so you've decided where you're going to go and when, obviously the next crucial step is finding someone to watch the kids. So this is probably the biggest hurdle that most people have in leaving their kids behind. And it is a big one, but with forethought and some planning, you can totally do it. Um, we have been talking about recording an episode all about finding the perfect babysitter for a while. So we're going to get that in the works. But you can always start with asking family or close friends. So if you live by family, obviously that's the first step. If you don't, do you have friends that really like your family? Maybe especially those with kids the same age. Ideally, I like to have someone come to my house with my kids, but if you don't have a huge family, you could also farm your kids out. You could say, say you have 3 kids and they each have friends that they really like. You could ask, can they come stay for a few days at the family's house? Obviously, someone that you really trust and are comfortable with. And then next, if you don't have family or friends that you could ask, start asking around for young adults that are trustworthy and other people recommend. So we have done single young adults. We have done married couples who don't have kids of their own yet, and they can come live in your house for a few days. I think that's the easiest way to get your kids watched without a really big interruption in their lifestyle.
Sure, because then the only thing that's different is mom and dad are gone, not that they're in a
Right.
different,
Mm-hmm.
out of their comfort zone as well. And if you and you one option is, if you're traveling with your siblings, your adult siblings, then they are with their cousins, and that is kind of distracting and fun for the kids as well. Oftentimes, I guess, when traveling with your adult siblings, they would have kids of different ages than yours, and so maybe there might even be a couple teenagers old enough to kind of hold down the whole fort for everybody.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, I don't really need to get a babysitter. I have adult children, and so they just take care of their siblings, and it's not too much different, other than, sometimes they have to adjust their work schedule a little bit. Like we were talking about, we're talking about a potential situation where there was a family funeral that I was going to be able to go to, and where the kids were not going to be going to that. And so my one daughter, she says, well, I can adjust my work schedule around this day. And then the other daughter said, well, I can adjust my schedule around this day. And then, somebody will be here with the kids all the time. So I really do appreciate having such a huge age range of kids. All right. So next, you got to prep the kids by um, to get ready, to get used to this babysitter. If it's somebody like not a sibling that they're not super comfortable with, um, You can set up a time for them to be watched by this person or spend time with these people before you leave town so they can get to know them better.
Yes, this is a step that's very easy to overlook, but can be kind of catastrophic. If your kids are not familiar with and super comfortable with the people that you're leaving them with, you really don't want to spring that on them and then just say, okay, now we're leaving for 4 days. Good luck. And that can be really hard for the babysitter too. So you want to make sure your kids are comfortable with them, that the sitters are familiar not only with your kids, they know everybody's name, they know everybody's kind of personality, who might be a little bit more inclined to fight or be whiny, they know their quirks and things. And then make sure everybody likes each other. I mean, sometimes you might do a trial run like this and think, actually, I don't think that is the great fit. We're going to keep looking for someone who, just meshes with the family a little bit better. But that trial run is really important. Oftentimes we'll just like go out to dinner and say, hey, can you come over and hang out with the kids and get to know them while we're out at dinner as a trial run.
Yep. And then you want to make it as easy as possible for the people in charge. So create a schedule ahead of time for the sitter. Type it out, put it on the fridge, print it out, whatever you've got. Include things like places the kids need to be, addresses, travel time, car instructions if they're using your vehicle, important phone numbers, doctor, medical info, copies of insurance cards, all the things that is going to make their life easier. If there's like plan for the unexpected, and then you'll be they'll be in a better position, and you'll be have more ease of mind when you're gone, because you won't be worrying about, oh my goodness, what if so and so has, like, your little girl has a seizure, what are they going to do? Just have it all planned out and ready.
Right, exactly. And yeah, plan for the worst, expect the best, right? We talked about in, I think, our episode on home management, we talked about the household binder that I use. So just a side note, I was on a girls trip once when my kids got lice. I don't know where they picked it up from. We
Oh.
homeschool, for crying out loud. Where would they have gotten it? Anyway, my sister-in-law had a couple of my kids and said, I was just combing your daughter's hair and noticed that there's lice. And I'm going, oh no, I'm not even there. But thankfully, they had the history of what we'd done the last time, because yes, we've had it multiple times, even while homeschooling. That's just big family, I guess. And then we're able to take care of it. My poor husband had to do it all. But a part of me is like, I'm both grateful and kind of sad that I'm not there to help out. Like, I really hope you do a good job at getting rid of those little things. But yeah, just kind of make sure that you realize just how much you do as a mom, and that whoever you leave in your stead is prepared for that big job. Okay, and then also don't forget to share names and numbers of friends that they could come over to play with. For example, like, I have one of my kids who gets a little wily after a while and can kind of cause fights. And so I told the babysitter this last time I left, hey, if he gets kind of problematic, call this kid and ask if he can have a play date. And she did, and he went over, and it was great, and they got a break from him, just kind of prepare them for a little bit of an escape if the sitter needs it. Don't forget instructions for electronics that you have, passwords for computers, or if there's a tricky thing with your remote or whatever. And then don't forget family rules. So sometimes we forget that not everybody knows that in our house we don't jump on the furniture, or we don't eat in the living room. So it's easy to just kind of write those down and make sure that the sitter's aware of those. Again, if it's somebody that's worked with your family in the past, that won't be a surprise. But if it's somebody fairly new, you just want to make sure you don't come home to, ice cream on the floor on your new carpet because you didn't expressly say, don't let them tell you that this is okay, right? And then finally,
because they will.
yes, they totally will. Okay, I have to share this story now because you brought that up. When I was a kid, we had a babysitter, a next door neighbor, who would come over and babysit while my parents went on date night. And things got out of hand one night, and there may have been a food fight. The babysitter was involved. And it was a blast, if you ask me. I was like 10 or 11. But we cleaned it all up. My babysitter went home, and everything was, mom and dad were none the wiser, or so we thought. And the next morning, my mom calls us all into the dining room and says, did you guys have a food fight last night? And we're thinking, what in the world? How did she have cameras set up? What's going on, right? We were flabbergasted that she could have guessed that we had a food fight. And then she points to a single solitary macaroni noodle on the top of a doorway and says, look what I found. And now as a parent, it makes me laugh because what other reason would a macaroni noodle have for being on the top of a
Mm.
doorway, like above a door
Mhm.
lintel, you know? It was because we were
Mhm.
flinging it everywhere, and that was one that we missed. And I thought it was just, I mean, I was horrified that she figured it out. But now as a mom, I just think that's so funny that she caught that one noodle and knew exactly what was going on. Yes, kids will bend the rules while you're gone. And then finally, don't forget to leave your sitter or caregiver with a little bit of money. Even if you have a fridge stocked with groceries, you might want to leave a few dollars for pizza if they decide to do that, or anything else that comes up.
Okay, tip number 3, get your kids ready. Prep your kids. So use a calendar with the little ones. Talk about how long you'll be gone. And then like we were talking about, put it in another episode, put it in terms of them, how exciting it will be to stay with the sitter, whoever that is, fun things they can do while you're gone, what you'll bring them back. I like this idea of getting them one time. I traveled with some of my kids, the little ones, and I left some of the older ones back. I was taking one of my daughters to a writing workshop, and I had a little envelope that they opened every day, and it told them where their next activity or prize for that day was. So I had bought little presents or little activities for them to do every day while I was gone, like, bubbles one day, and then the next day, like, new coloring books or something, just little things. And every day they opened an envelope, and it was like a little treasure hunt where it gave them a clue on where to find their new thing, and they got to go find it. And um, so that made kind of an anticipatory thing for them. It's not like, oh, it's 3 more days till mom gets back and we're bored. They knew, oh, hey, we wake up this morning, and their older sister that was in charge, it had to be that they had done their breakfast and their morning chores and their little bit of schoolwork, and then they got to open their little envelopes. So that was something that just popped into my mind. Something that fun they can do while you're gone.
Okay, that is a super duper cute idea and gets them excited about it. And yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is just it's very easy to talk about how you're going to miss them and how sad it's going to be. In fact, I think we talked about this in welcoming a new sibling, right? Like, stop playing up the bad stuff, right? Like, even though you know they're going to
Yeah.
probably have a hard time while you're gone, don't bring it up. They'll figure it out, right? Instead, just talk about, oh my gosh, you're going to have so much fun with grandma. Oh my gosh, I wish I was going to stay here with you. And then they get really hyped up for this fun, exciting time instead of, I'm going to miss you. Are you going to miss me? That's not helpful. Even though it's probably true. There's going to be some missing going on. Hype it up like something totally exciting, get them looking forward to it. In fact, my children love when I leave now. It's kind of rude, if you ask me. But they get really excited because they know there's going to be something out of the ordinary, something kind of fun, a sitter or a grandma or something, and they'll probably get to go get ice cream or do something that's out of the ordinary. And then if you do have kids of varying ages, you can always pull the big ones aside and say, hey, can you please be extra helpful to this little one? Make sure that they don't miss mom too much. Because having siblings around can be a real boon for kids that tend to get sad when mom's gone.
Yeah, I have to share. I'm talking about this anniversary trip for a little while with our kids. And the first time we talked about it, okay, back up a second. I have one son who's in college. He's away in college, and his 4-year-old little sister misses him to pieces. In fact, she says that everything in her life is revolving around the weekends when he comes home. She
Oh,
misses him so much.
cute.
It's so sweet. And the other morning at 3 o'clock in the morning, she crawled into my bed and she whispered in my ear, Mommy, do you know why I dream about my brother every night? And I said, why? And she said, like, at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, why? And she says, because I love him so, 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 so much.
Oh, that is so cute. Oh my goodness.
Oh, so all right. So we've been talking about going on this anniversary trip, and the first time, we talked about mommy and daddy going away and on a trip, and you'll stay here with your siblings. And she got kind of teary eyed, and then she said, is my big brother going to come home while you're gone? And I said, yeah, he'll be here. Okay. And then it was all fun and games for her. Yeah.
Yeah,
Can you
peace out.
can you go on your trip today? Today, can you go?
My kids do ask me that a lot because I've gotten really good at hyping up the experience, right? Like, you guys are going to be able to go eat pizza, and then you're going to go to the park, and then you're going to get to swim every day or whatever we have planned. And then they start asking, are you leaving yet? Are you leaving today? Are you leaving tomorrow? And I'm like, okay, if I didn't know better. I think you didn't want me here. Rude. But that's good. We want them to be excited.
All right. The fourth thing is the fourth step is to just be real with yourself. Be honest. It might feel weird to be away for a while. Expect to miss your kids fiercely for the first day or two. You're going to, like, they're part of you and you're part of them, and this, it's your life. And so yeah, it's not like you're going to walk out the door and never look back. That's just going to be a little bit of the reality for you while you're away from your kids.
Yeah, I remember quite a few trips where I would leave, and the first couple of days I would feel so guilty that I would think this was a mistake. I need to go back. They shouldn't be left without me, kind of a thing. And then by about day 3, I'm like, it's kind of awesome to feed myself first and then no one else. And it's kind of awesome to go to the bathroom alone. And then there's a secondary guilt where I'm like, oh, I should be missing my kids more, and I'm not. Does that make me a bad mom? No, it doesn't make you a bad mom. It is okay to get away and enjoy yourself. It is okay to feed yourself first and go to the bathroom alone and spend time working on your marriage or your friendship with other people. Totally okay. But don't be afraid, or don't be freaked out if you miss them fiercely and then don't miss them at all. Because that's totally normal too. But it's really healthy to spend time away from your family members and to just remember why you love them. Absence makes the heart grow fonder kind of thing. When I come back from trips, I'm just like, oh my gosh, you guys are so cute. I've missed you. And I've even missed your naughtiness, instead of, like most days, I am so tired of fighting. So that's definitely something to be expected. So that's what we've got for you guys this week. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully that inspires you to get away and take a little time for yourself, maybe with your spouse or with some friends, or even just by yourself. There's nothing wrong with getting a hotel room for a night to take a break. So best of luck leaving those kids. Thanks for listening, friends. Click the link in the show notes to subscribe to our email and never miss another episode.
Show us some love by leaving a review on iTunes or sharing the podcast with a friend. Thanks for all your support. We'll talk to you next week.